had a pretty, I don't know, I say eventful weekend. It was just some interesting things that it's just, I get tickled sometimes with folks that think they have information that's right information and they go with it, but the information that they have is either partial information, and the partial information that they have is not entirely accurate, which would be kind of redundant, I guess. But so people take advice or they take information, right, from someone who they are really, throwing stones at in the first place by, saying that person's got mental health issues and drug issues and don't want them in, my place alone, and not allowed to stay here for more than a couple of days if they do stay, and they've got all these cautionary things to protect themselves and their family around the person that has all these issues I just described. Well, this same person that they've got, all these cautionary signs held up in front of, they will take information that they give, if it's throwing mud at someone else that they don't think highly of, and they'll hold that information as if it's, scripture. And but it's the same person that they won't qualify what they say when it comes to, many other things. So you got to protect yourself against this person for multiple of reasons, but when they're saying something that makes you feel comfortable insofar as what you think you know about someone you don't like, then you're kind of switching the logic and the reason around a little bit. So if someone, for example, has made claims that were not healthy, not good about me, right, and this person that's made these claims is already not trusted by the people who are hearing these claims about me, right? They're trusting the bad things that are being said about me, but they're not trusting the person for anything else at all. That doesn't make any sense. I'm explaining it, so obviously it's easy to explain, but it doesn't make sense in how you exercise logic and reason. So, insofar as folks getting upset, just kind of flying off the handle, when we are defending a person on the one hand for having, mental health issues, and if they just do this and they just do that and they just, do all these things, everything's great. But the second you try to speak to, well, we've done those things, and they didn't, things weren't great. Then we end up with, well, see, that's because what you did was not good. But going back to, you're taking this person's word that you don't trust. You're taking their word when they're saying bad things about someone else that you don't like, and you're using that to kind of refute or rebuttal, their comment with, well, we've done all those things, but those things didn't help. They just weren't any help. So essentially, the person who takes information from someone they don't trust, and they're trying to diagnose somebody and explain all the things that have to be done for the person that they don't trust, when they're talking to someone they don't like, convenient. They're always right in all of their diagnosis, in all of their rebuttals, and this is just, it's unfortunate that they're capable of seeing that, but that they want to, win a competition of words so bad that they're okay with making themselves look foolish in order to, win a jiu-jitsu match of words. And that's where we get into, pride and those kind of things, and it's just unfortunate. Buddy of mine does a devotional thing in the morning, and a few of us follow that, so we're following along in that. And then of course something always pop up that deals with either other, like sermons or sermon jams, or in some cases just kind of some of the stuff that's going on in the world, and how really our religious positions, how we're convicted by what's going on around us. The subject matter was dealing with mental health versus science, and again there's an exercise of logic and reason on the one that says this is mental health, but this over here isn't mental health. But they're both dealing with essentially an identity issue, and how people identify. And you almost have to qualify one if you're going to qualify the other, and if you're going to disqualify one, you almost have to disqualify the other. I mean, it's kind of a, if people that have attractions to certain people. Um, if it's mental health related, then it kind of has to. It's kind of applicable to all, insofar as the mental health is concerned. But I would go so far as to say that when we're dealing with mental health and things being off kilter somewhere, sin is the issue. Sin is the issue, and mental health is just it's just another name for sin, and everyone's affected by it in some regard. Everyone's affected by it somehow. And I mean, even Job. I mean, here's a guy that had strong faith, and always had God in the forefront of his thinking, but he was still affected by things, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to be affected. Mental health, and just everything's going to be peace, pot, and microdots. It wasn't like that for Job. But insofar as the things that we deal with, kind of how we deal with it, is it biblical? And if we're taking a secular worldview on what the issue is, then we're going to miss the biblical worldview, the biblical view of what sin is, and there's only one answer, and we don't all have the answers. Everything all at the same time. Might be a lot of good answers, right? But the framework, when it comes to logic and reason, number one, is the person consistent? Are they consistent with each discussion as pertains to whatever blank subject is we're talking about? And in it being consistent, does the consistency kind of propagate one extreme or another extreme? Does it propagate that view in a way that casts sort of a shade on somebody else's view?